Let's talk about why Democrats, rhinos, and even some conservatives absolutely hate the idea of parents and kids having school choice options in the state of Tennessee. Let's go through the list. I'm going to give you some facts you may not know about education in our state. I'm going to give you a little background in history, and then I'm going to talk about the current situations, the pros and cons, and why some people hate it and some people love it. Now, first off, we spend about $12,000 a year, thereabouts, between federal and state money in Tennessee, educating kids. Over $144,000, probably could round it up to about $150,000 per student. Okay? Right now in Tennessee, weighted averages, only about a third of kids can read at grade level. Only about a third, 1 in 3. Imagine if you ran a roofing company and 2/3 of the roofs leaked. Could you stay in business? No. But we let organizations that have that kind of track record keep failing with our kids, and we wonder why there are societal consequences. Number 2, only about 53% of dollars make it into the classroom. The rest of it is wasted in bloated government bureaucracy. 3, if you do a great job, there's not much different in pay. If you do a terrible job, there's no difference in pay. Can you be fired? Hardly. There's no incentive to perform whatsoever. No incentive whatsoever. Other things that are hilarious about your public education system. They were supposed to be giving schools a letter grade 3 years ago. A, B, C, D, and F on how they're performing. They've done nothing at the state level to keep parents in the know about the actual educational performance of the schools. Why? Because they suck. They keep having all these sounding board meetings where they're trying to figure out educational input, which are largely only attended by educators who make their money living off government money. Okay, there's just nothing wrong with it, but there is a conflict of interest there, right? And they still haven't got around to it. You know why? Because so many schools would get D's and F's. And then how are they going to explain that? Right now, the academic performance has gotten so bad in public schools that all these schools are trying to give no grade below a 50. You see, public educators, left-leaning almost to a person in the Lee administration, don't want parents to know the truth about what's going on. And instead of actually giving our kids and equipping them with the skills they need, they keep moving the goalposts. Now, we have had educational opportunities brought before the legislature, and they've been killed time and time again by Republicans primarily, but the Democrats don't like it either. Let's go down some of the reasons. Republicans, conservatives, because they're different, and Democrats don't like school choice. Democrats don't like school choice because they got it going good. They've got their little indoctrination camps, they got their government job factories, and a dumb voter is a good Democrat voter, that's for sure. They don't want competition because they know that government schools can't compete. And so they want everybody stuck in these failing schools that can't afford it, although many of them, elected in the legislature, have school choice options because they're rich enough to send their kids to private schools. Okay? Republicans don't like school choice because they're afraid of the teachers back in their district not voting for them. And some of them actually get teacher union money. Okay? We've got some in Republican leadership, and some Republicans take that teacher union money, and they want the votes. And it's one of the biggest employers back in the rural district in many cases, or the urban district. That's all well and good, but your political future should not come at the expense of a kid's ability to learn how to read and write. Now, the argument that's out there right now is that parents don't deserve these choices, that they'll make mistakes, they'll screw up. Could they do any worse than the government right now? I don't think they could. And I trust parents to make educational decisions for their kids way more than a bureaucrat, because guess who has to live with the consequences of a poor education from eternity, from now to eternity? It's the parents and the kids. There's no school administrator, there's no school teacher that's going to see their life wrecked, no politician, because they spent 13 years learning bad habits but not picking up any good skills. And here's another thing that burns my beans. There's all these conversations about only allowing people of certain income levels to have educational options. So we're going to give options to the people who don't pay any taxes to fund the schools, but the people who fund the schools, who pay an exorbitant amount of taxes if they're higher income, especially if they're small business owners, we're not going to let them have any choices. That's where all this is headed. This is the conversation you're going to hear over the next few months as the left and its rhinos continue to give themselves ammunition or wiggle room to fail to deliver on school choice promises on the Republican side, or to try to stymie it on the Democrat side. Now, there are some conservatives. It's cold out here. There are some conservatives who don't want any school choice. But here's the sad part about why. The majority of conservatives that don't want school choice don't want it because they're afraid the government will screw up private schools and homeschool. Because the government has screwed up public education royally. Royally. Nobody's been held responsible for it. Not the governor, not the speaker, not the lieutenant governor. It's happened on their watch with the Republican supermajority. No educational commissioners have been fired because of their lack of performance. I mean, who can stay at the head of an organization like Tennessee's Education with such a poor track record and keep getting employed? If you ran a business into the ground as the CEO, could you keep your job? Nope, but you can in government education, and you can move on, having a bad record, to another job. Move up the ladder of mediocrity and failure. Now, they're worried, conservatives are, that the government will screw up private schools. Right now, my daughter goes to a little private Christian school, and the school just sent some note home that says that schools of a certain class are now going to have to go to some arbitrary 6.5-hour day. Our kids are in school some days like 3.5, 4 hours. You know, daughter is in 5th grade, reading at a 9th grade level. It's working just fine. We don't need kids to be locked in government job factories similar to prisons for 8, 9, 10, 6 hours a day. So this is what people are fearful about on the conservative side, about government arbitrarily getting involved in something that they failed at previously, because the reforms tend not to work. Their improvements end up making things worse. So what do? So I hope Bill Lee, who has delivered on virtually none of his campaign promises, will come through on school choice. And it needs to be for every kid in Tennessee, regardless of the income level. Democrats that want to keep their kids stuck in failing government schools can do it. But they want to limit the option for those that want to stay in public school and private school. Because they know that if the free market ever has an opportunity, that it'll kick the living you-know-what out of the government school systems. And I hope we see it happen in Tennessee. You need to contact your legislator, both on the rep side and on the state senate side, and tell them, listen, if you're like Brandon Lewis, I have paid into the tax system for 20 some odd years. That's a nice car. I have started small businesses. I've employed people. I've paid bukus of sales and property tax on separate properties. I want some of my money back. It's already too late for half of my kids' educational career. I just had to foot the bill myself. We used to live in Brainerd, and the schools are so unsafe there, and the scores are so bad. In our neighborhood, you never saw a school bus run. Never saw a school bus run for 15 years because parents were afraid to send their kids to that school because it was a metropolitan or urban community. But everybody either homeschooled their kids or sent them to private schools because the schools in Chattanooga are so god-awful, like they are in many other areas, even rural areas. The kids don't have any options. Parents don't have any options. I think they deserve them. What do you think? Leave your comments in the bottom. And I know that they'll all be warm and glowing and kind. There won't be any name calling. It'll all be facts and figures. It'll all be about the kids, right? Tell me what you think about school choice in Tennessee in the comments below. Love you, mean it. Talk to you next time. Brandon Lewis with the Tennessee Conservative News. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you're preparing for the coming of the Christ child for Christmas. Take care.